All right. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Sword&CrossHuman, where we're throwing out the truth, and apparently that pisses a lot of people off. All right, so let's get in it. I told you that I'm going to expose every one of these people. We have a lot of racism going on in YouTube. There's been a lot of people try to block me, stop me. You don't want the truth coming out. And I must say, first, excuse my mess, guys. I do have a project going on. I cannot tell you how vile and sickening it is when another person, African American, laughs and thinks it's funny that children are being starved and beaten. You are a sick, mentally ill individual. Straight up. Straight up. Any human that has an issue with someone fighting for children that are being beaten, mentally abused, starved, you have a mental illness. And that's just all there is to that. All right, so I told you what I'm going to do is speak the story on everything that happened here. You're going to stop coming for me. Today we're going to speak on Miss Velma. Now, I have asked her 18-year-old and her 21-year-old how they felt about that. And they said, go ahead and speak on it. With the understanding, you see, they comprehend you are trying to bring harm to someone that's done nothing wrong. You are trying to bring harm to someone who refused to lie for you, cover things up for you, because you don't want your mask stripped off. So I'm going to tell the story about you. Now, you've had right at 4 years to speak what you felt was your truth. And we all know up amongst that, there were a lot of lies told. Miss Sampson has had years to tell her truth. You all tried to use YouTube platforms, paying tarot readers, whatever, to spin your truth, which was slap full of lies. I've never seen so many flying monkeys in such a circus over one woman. Y'all have done everything you can to stop me from the truth getting out. So here's the story. All right, guys. So this lady calls me up one day. I didn't answer the first call. Now, I noticed on her Facebook, this straight con artist. She thought she was going to come here and con somebody. I noticed on her Facebook, she kept posting pictures of vehicles. So, no doubt in my mind, and I did notice that before she came here, I had given her brother a Dodge truck years before. This is a man. You had the opportunity to, someone gave you a vehicle to help you get to a job. You had the opportunity to get your life straight. You chose not to do that. So that's on you. About a month later, I got a notice. Vehicle was sitting beside the road. And at the time, I was paying a different attorney fighting for these children. So, you can laugh all you want. Baby, I'll just get the money together and pay another attorney again. Because I am a firm believer when the good Lord shuts one door, there's a reason. There's a fighter out there somewhere that's not afraid to fight the system or CPS for the horrific BS that went on here. There's somebody out there that's not afraid to be in the public eye and be world renowned for standing up and fighting. I cannot tell you how it repulses me and sickens me that you've heard this little boy's screams. A lot of people over their own color, racism, stick together, follow the herd, run off the cliff. I think that is sickening and mental ill. And a lot of other people for their own causes. Bikers, drug addicts, so on, that don't want the real truth, the factual truth getting out. Well, maybe you shouldn't have been a crappy person. All right, so we also have a lot of people out here screaming about double life. Baby, I'm not living a double life. My private life is none of your business. But you tried to make it your business. You have literally surveillanced me in my home. You violated client attorney privilege by reading his emails, listening to his phone calls. And this is just horrific. What's even worse is that Miss Velma decided to team up with the mother in South Carolina. So then she also put herself in the position of RICO. And from what I understand, RICO is about organized crime. This was organized. This was organized to gang stalk someone that was blowing the whistle on how Carolina has hid and swept under the carpet the tremendous amount of abuse that went on in this home. So, let me tell you about Miss Velma. Now, like I said, I'm going to speak my truth, and then we can move on from it, because this is almost over. Next month, I will no longer be under any CPS whatsoever as far as foster care. And I have to tell you, minus the fact that, God really changed these kids' lives by coming here, the difference between them and the youngest one is they actually comprehend and can see that had they still been there, they would still be living the same type of life. And that's not what they want. So anyhow, I noticed on her Facebook, she was posting all these vehicles. So she already thought she was coming here to try to run a con game on someone, possibly to try to get a vehicle. Baby, my giving days are over. It's going to be a check to St. Jude's or to feed someone. But as far as vehicles and bills, and this is what's sad about what our world has came to, because good people are starting to refuse to help other people. And sometimes people are just down on their luck and need help. But sometimes you have people like this that run con game. Yeah, let me tell y'all, the whining sound in this woman's voice literally drives me insane. We are two totally different kind of women. This one is a con artist. Ooh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I supposed to do? Well, engage your backbone, get a job, and figure it out. All right, so here we go. This is all true. Do I need to get the Bible for y'all? So she comes here. She calls me. I ignored the first phone call. And Lord forbid I should have ignored the second one. She's on the phone crying, lying. This is, I tell you what, guys, and this was the eye-opener for me. Because I try to believe that most people are, truly who they say they are. Well, that's not so. Most people, 98% of people, do wear a mask. So anyhow, I answered the phone. She's crying, carrying on, talking about she's homeless and her children are hungry. So I tell her, come on by when I get off work. At that time, I believe I was working 2 to 10. I said, come on by and I'll fix y'all something to eat. When she pulls up in the driveway and there's a knuckle dragger behind the steering wheel. Now, let me express to you what a knuckle dragger is. That's a male or a female that refuses to work. And I do mean a lifetime of refusing to work. I don't mean used to be in welding school, used to be in construction, used to be in the oil field, and decided to stay home and protect their little girls. So, this is someone that's just a bum, that's looking for a place to lay, someone to steal from because he's also a thief. So anyhow, she pulls up in the driveway, knuckle dragger behind the steering wheel. And right at that moment, I started to tell her, just keep it moving. First off, you never mentioned that you had a swinging rooster with you. Because any woman that's homeless and you've got a man at the wheel, you've got the wrong man. Moving on. So they come in and they're sitting, they're talking. I did a chariot reading for them. I cooked them something to eat. I let them spend the night right here in the living room. I don't remember if it was a mattress I had pulled off another bed or whatever. Anyhow, I knew I did not want to leave this person or these people in my home while I was going to work. Because I knew as a child she had a bad thief problem. So she tells me, I only need a couple days, cuz. I only need a couple days before I get my food stamps and my check. What she was referring to was her daughter's check. Okay, so you only need a couple days. I said, all right. I handed her a $100 bill. I said, go on up to the dollar store and get, some lunch meat stuff, sodas, Kool-Aid, whatever. And you guys go on over to Stewart's Lake and camp a couple days. Pay the fee. It's middle of summer. It was June. And matter of fact, it might have been toward the end of May at this point. We were in May. But it was already hot. Louisiana, it was hot. So I give her the $100, tell her to go to the store, get what you need, and you guys go camp out a couple days. She goes over there. They stay. Of course, the parish shakes them down, which I was upset about, truly believing that she was homeless, until I found out the rest of the story. That she walked out of her mother's home where her and her children were staying, and she walked out of that home with this knuckle dragger while she left two more sitting there, George and Cliff. That's fact. I have asked someone else in the family, and that's a fact. And I cannot tell you how I'm appalled that her own mother got on this hate train when he disrespected you the way he did when they walked out the door. Moving on. So she calls me after she got shook down. They spent the night. This was the next day. And here comes the lies. This one is like an old hound dog. Every time it opens his mouth and that slobber's dripping, it's a lie. And that is the life she lived with him. That is the life she lived with her family. But we're going to get into that. Like I said, we're going to tell the truth what happened here. The real truth. Not the slobbering hound dog's fictional truth. So anyhow, she calls me up and she says, him and her went and did a little work. And they went online and reserved a hotel room. Oh, well, something happened, and they lost $189 at that hotel room. You seem to think I forgot all that, huh, sister girl? So anyhow, that was an outright lie. When I asked her kids about it, they said she never left the lake. And, of course, they was broke when they landed here. So anyhow, time goes on. I moved a lot of things around. A lot of things. They wanted to stay. First off, they were waiting on a insurance payout where they had, there is a, what do they call it, a trap house? I forget what they call it. Anyhow, it's where everybody gets together, runs needles, does their dope. So anyhow, she had already drugged these kids through this. There was a lady across the street. It appeared to me, after I started recognizing the pattern, she was basically looking for somewhere to leave these kids laying so she could beat the roads with the knuckle dragger. Needless to say, I realized that when she was standing here in front of me talking about how she had a stent, some type of kidney thing, and how she needed to go to the hospital. It had been over a year and she hadn't had it removed. Well, darling, as a nurse, I can tell you it's pretty much grown to the walls. So she sat there and tried to run game on somebody, talking about she needed to leave her kids here, and go to the hospital. Well, the best I can suggest, and I do believe that's what I told her, take them with you. Because I could see the game she was trying to run. So, needless to say, I pulled everything out of my shop. I started getting into auctions back in 2016. I pulled everything out of my shop, because I looked out the door one day, I was getting ready to go to work. I watched this woman wallow like a pig on the concrete in clothing, bags of clothing that they just strode all out under my carport. So then, one day I opened the door, I'm getting ready to go to work, I see an electrical cord going across the yard. Her and the knuckle dragger are laid up in this trailer, my storage trailer, with my shop fan blowing on. First, when they came back here, I said, well, I have a tent. You guys can camp out. And there's a reason I said that. I'm not going to leave you in my home so you can search it from one end to the other. Been there, done that. Because I know who you are. And your youngest child turned out to be the same way. A thief, just a thief. So, and God forbid you are ruining that child's life. But all you want is somebody to back what you say. You don't care if you destroy her life, as long as you get someone that backs what you say. All right, guys, so needless to say, one Friday morning, I believe it was, It's June 11th, 2022. Kids come over here beating on the door. Now, mind you, they had access to my home while I was in it for showers, baths, toiletries, cooking. She also had out there my shop fan to keep them cool. This is a huge fan. There are plug-ins under the carport. She had access to cooking. I put a microwave out there, coffee pot, whatever they needed. So I watched them beat the roads. I watched the vehicle they were in, had no tags, was not in her name, and she constantly beat the roads. They got pulled over numerous times, and of course it was always a sob story, da-da-da-da-da, and they let her go. Until the woman came to get the truck. I watched her sit and cuss this woman. This woman gave her a blessing. When she had no vehicle, this was the woman's, her father had passed away. So the truck had sentimental value to her. Well, she let Velma take it and make one payment. I watched Velma sit here and cuss this woman, scream at this woman, tell this woman how she was going to sue her, nothing but mouth. Somebody gave you a blessing and you slapped it in the face. And you wonder why your life is the way it is. Moving on. So anyhow, throughout this time, when I cleaned out the shop, they were going to stay in the trailer. But that old trailer, it's just storage. It has no utilities, no water, no nothing. So I went ahead and I cleaned out my shop. Well, it was getting late, and I had to go to work. I think I worked a night shift that night. So everything that came out of the shop, not to mention, oh boy, was being devious. And this is what I hate about people. They're the kind of people that steal something from you and then help you look for it. Just demonic trash. So anyhow, oh boy tears up the flooring right there at the back door in the trailer. So we couldn't carry everything from the shop to the trailer. We'd already set it all outside, which is not hard to see what his game was. If we couldn't put it in the trailer, he would have the opportunity to ride through it. And that's exactly what happened. When I tell you I'm fed up with thieves, drug addicts, and I'm not talking about people that believe in the good Lord's plant. I'm talking about meth. I'm talking about crack, coke, drug addicts, needles, drug addicts, con artists, thieves. A lot of people say you shouldn't bash drug addicts. Let me tell y'all something. Baby, when they're stealing their granny's drawers, they know they're stealing their granny's drawers. I don't give a damn what they're souped up on. They know exactly what they're doing. Anyhow, moving on. So, a little time went by. I'm probably about a 2-week period. They beat the roads, but they got their little insurance money. I watched this idiot on video, and I was just repulsed. I'm like, what an immature idiot, this dude. Flashing his money, talking about, brother, you need it, I got you. Well, you had $2,000, dude. So you really didn't have that much. You're sitting here with a woman with 3 children who have no home. Both of you got about $2,500 plus a check plus food stamps. That's enough money, baby, to rent a house, turn on lights, fill a freezer, and get a hoopty. Anyhow, moving on. So one day I noticed the electric cord going across the yard, the truck was not sitting here. I thought maybe it had got impounded. So I knock on the door. When I knock on the door, the old boy goes to screaming, something like, what do you want? Let me tell you what I want, brother. You're sitting on my property being a knuckle dragger, and you're probably sitting on my property with some drugs, which means you got to go, bro. All right, so anyhow, as it goes on, I come in from work, and I notice the next day that I came in after we had moved everything out of the shop. Had some electric guitars out there, instruments, different things. I noticed when I knock on the door, first I noticed the tarp had been moved around, which told me he was digging through it. They were digging through it. So then, when the doors opened, I noticed a little orange electric guitar sitting there propped up by the door. This electric guitar was under the tarp, which means this thief, this con artist, this knuckle dragging dopehead had already dug through all my stuff. And I actually owe GP an apology on that one, because I was hot that they shook him down. So anyhow, as time goes on, I see they drag up 2 other children. I open the shop for them. There are utilities in there. There is water in there. although I never got the opportunity to figure out why the valve wasn't working. During this time, he tore the sink out of the shop. So, he asked to borrow my pressure washer. Well, and forgive me, Lord, for this. I'm trying to stop cussing, y'all, but ooh, you get the angel of the Hellcat, baby. Depends on how you come at me. So anyhow, this idiot just drops it right in a pile of dog shit. So what I saw was she had 2 pit bulls, and there's no doubt in my mind that everyone she tried to live with, this is why they kicked her out. No one is going to open their home for you and then step in dog shit, wallow in dog shit, or put up with it. They're not going to let you destroy their home because you decided you're homeless when the whole time all you had to do was go back to your mother's, and that's pretty much where you're at right now. All right, so moving on. So, like I say, time goes by, they get this money, and instead of doing what they needed to do with it, it was beat the roads, beat the roads, beat the roads, McDonald's, hotels. You were homeless. You should have rented a house. All you had to do in the first place was rent a house and pass a drug test. That's all you had to do to get your children back. 3.5 years later, you didn't do it. You still didn't do it. The home that your child lives in now is your mother's. Moving on. And we're going to speak on your mother as well. All right, so moving on. So I watched this go down. My shop fan gets pulled out of the shop and left sitting out here in the rain. That's $300 shop fan. Now, I bust my ass for what I have. So she stays in the tent. They stay in the tent before they piled up in this this old spare trailer out here that I store things in. And she has the audacity to say to me one day, which I could tell somebody was pumping her because apparently you're ignorant. So she says to me one day on video, "You let me sleep in a tent and shit in the yard." No, darling, you let you sleep in a tent and shit in the yard. Had I known you was doing that out in my yard, I can guarantee you'd have got off my property a little bit sooner. So anyhow, they stay in the shop. I go over, I knock on the door, I'm like, "Hey, I need your kids to pick up all this in the yard." So they bring 2 more children in. So now there's 7 people in the shop. This is what happens when you try to help people. I had bird baths being busted. I had a $800 trimmer burn up, which I think I'm going to go ahead and file a suit for. During this time, I've had windows busted out, air conditioner pushed out the window, dents put in the trailer. So it's very hard. From day one, it was very hard for me to even sit on a court pew next to her and listen to the bullshit. One day she made the comment, "Waste not, want not." Well, you may want to practice what you preach because you taught these children nothing. Nothing. When they make a sandwich, when they first came here, and they've learned a little, but it's still something I deal with. Most people that are taught from toddlers, because that's when we start teaching our children as toddlers. When they make a sandwich, they put the lid on the mayo, they close the bread, they wipe up the crumbs, they go eat the sandwich. Your children, madam, were never taught that. They drank a Coke, they dropped the can right there. And they will swallow them right out of the case, hot. When they make a sandwich, they walk off and eat the sandwich. Everything's left sitting right there on the counter. And then when you ask them to put it up, they put the lid on it, spoon in it, and put it in the fridge. I don't know what world you live in, or if you must have a mental illness because you didn't teach them shit. Moving on. These young girls should know regular scheduled baths, doing their own laundry, cleaning that kitchen. You see, your life would have been a little easier if you'd have taught your children, and you did not. You wouldn't have to come home to a dirty kitchen if you'd have taught your girls. All right, so moving on. I know this is going to piss you off and a lot of other people, and guess what? I'm beyond giving a rat's ass what you or anyone else thinks. I'm fed up. I'm fed up with your lies. I'm fed up with Miss Sampson's lies. I'm fed up with how y'all thought you could gang stalk somebody, and I'm fed up with these tarot readers' lies. Am I saying every tarot reader's like that? No. Y'all spun a lot of damn stories to make profit off of somebody. Miss Sampson, Miss Sampson's family, and Miss Velma, as well as a few others, Griffins, few others, were all involved with this. You have gang stalked the hell out of someone. You've tried to delay them from paying their taxes. You've tried to delay them from moving forward with any projects, and you've been stealing me blind. You're a piece of crap. You are a piece of crap. You had the audacity to say, I'm not family. Darling, I don't want to be your family. And second, you never were any kind of family. All right, moving on. So, this particular morning, the kids come over here screaming, beating on the door, saying, Aunt Addie, I'm not their aunt, I'm their cousin, but they call me aunt. He's beating Mama up. He's beating Mama up. So I go over. I grab my shotgun. I go over. I'm a female. I live alone. And I'm not taking any shit. I'm fed up with people's bullshit. So she is asleep. And this dude starts beating her in the face with his fist. Well, let me tell you what's happening. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see. The money's dwindling down, and apparently the dope was dwindling down. So, at this point, he wants to come shy of her. So she's sitting there crying. Well, give me my bank card and my food stamp card. So what idiot puts their children's only resources in a swinging rooster, knuckle dragger's pocket? Let me tell you what. A dummy. A idiot. Moving on. Your 3 children were depending on you to feed them. You was more worried about impressing someone. So we're going to move on. I'm going to spit some truth out here, Miss Velma. The reason you are so hell-bent on coming for someone never had a damn thing to do with your children. It's because I ran that man off. That's why you came for somebody. I knew when you sat here, after I called the cops, I knew when you said, and y'all, I just can't tell you how shocked I was by this. This woman sitting here crying, what does she do? She calls his ex, crying. Dummy. What do you think that's going to do for you? Why would you even call this man's ex? Anyhow, most women that are abused, they do not want to go to the hospital because they do not want to speak on the abuse. They try to protect that person. I knew when she took that ambulance ride out of here, that was her free ride up out of here to be texting, talking, calling, and chasing that old boy down. And that's exactly what happened. So I go on to work. I set the kids up. I handed them my iPhone to use while I was at work in case they needed anything happened, anything broke out, they needed to call 911, whatever. Now, they knew, this youngest one knew, I sat right there and said, I'm giving you guys this phone to use while I'm at work in case you have an emergency. So, during this time, I called the hospital that night, see if she was still there, if she needed a ride back home. Well, for all she says about how I ran her off, no, darling, you left. She went searching for the swinging rooster, knuckle dragger. Left the hospital. All right, so anyhow, didn't show back up for days. At which point I let her know you're not welcome here. Don't come back here. You can come on and get your kids, but don't come back here. So anyhow, during that time, her cousin called CPS on her because she went to meet up with them, again, looking for somewhere to lay her children up. She had called this cousin and wanted to bring her kids out there. They met in a parking lot in Louisiana. It's hot, and let me tell you, the asphalt's 120. So when these kids switched vehicles or whatever, they walk across the parking lot barefoot. That cousin is the one that called CPS on. Same one she's still hobnobbing and associating with. I've never seen such ignorance. All right, so anyhow, moving on. They tore up a lot around the yard. Anytime when I would ask her to get your kids to pick up trash, because like I said, anything they ate, anything they did, they dropped it right where it's at. No integrity, no morals, and no respect for their own self. So I see why these children do what they do, because she opened the door, handed them a trash bag, and then closed the door. There's no guidance. There was never no guidance of any kind. You have to teach children from the time they're toddlers. Screaming at them, saying, do this, and do that, ain't the way. Now, I cannot tell you how my patience was wore thin. You've all heard it because you were listening in. You were literally listening into the privacy of my home. So, did it wear my patience thin? Yes, it did. I moved a lot around in my home to get these children in here. I dealt with kicking my way through filth. Every home looks lived in. But when there's a foot of filth on the floor, and you have to kick your way through it, I can tell you now, baby, I'm going to do some cussing. Have I ever laid my hands on any of these children? Nope. Have I ever pulled a weapon on any of these children? Nope. But you did a lot of lying. Miss Velma and Miss Sampson got together and decided they were going to coax this minor child